Welcome to Murder with the Missus. I'm Darren.
And I'm Amy, and today we're going to tell you about Ken McElroy and Paddy Moriarty.
Don't forget to check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Podbean, and Facebook. Like, share, subscribe. Make sure to hit the notification bell so you get the new episodes whenever they drop. And tell your friends as always.
I was shocked that more people haven't heard of the story of Ken McElroy, but I will give you that it is pretty old. But it stands out so much, and it is the ultimate case of fuck around and find out. Then, researching Ken, I came across Paddy Moriarty. His story is more recent, but I had not heard of this one. Apparently, there was a Netflix documentary on it in 2023, but we don't have Netflix, so I didn't know about it. But Max has the documentary, and I was able to read the coroner's inquest, and the stories are kind of similar, so I decided to tell you both. Ken Rex McElroy was a 47-year-old town bully. He was born in 1934 and was number 15 out of 16 kids. Poor mom had to just be pregnant all the damn time. He dropped out of school in the 8th grade at the ripe old age of 15 in Skidmore, Missouri. In the 80s, the population of Skidmore was roughly 440 people. He didn't have time for school because he was too busy cattle rustling, stealing shit, and being a womanizer. In fact, he would father 10 kids of his own in his life. He was indicted 21 times, but was never convicted because when trial came, all of a sudden, the witnesses would clam up, refusing to testify. Ken would stalk them, intimidate them, threaten them, and I can see that because he was 6 feet tall and 270 pounds, so he was likely intimidating by looks alone, but then to see the shit that he was capable of, scary.
He would sit outside of people's homes and just stare at them.
Yeah.
It sounds like he was just a dick.
He was very much so. Definitely a tool bag. He was married to his second wife, Alice, but was regularly raping a 12-year-old girl named Trina. They were in a relationship, according to them, but her parents said, hell no, you're not. So Ken burned the parents' house down and shot their dog. So they ended up letting her go and live with Ken and Alice. Trina got pregnant when she was 14. So to avoid rape charges, it is reported that Ken divorced Alice and married Trina. About 2 weeks after Trina had the baby, the baby, and Alice ran away to Trina's parents' house. But before too long, here came Ken, dragging them back home. He then returned to the parents' house, and they weren't home, luckily, but he proceeded to again burn their house down and again shoot their new dog. This time, though, in June of 1973, he was indicted for arson, assault, and statutory rape. Trina and the baby were taken by the state and put into a foster home for safety. Of course, Ken was released on bail, and he found the foster home. Trina said he would sit outside of it for hours just staring at the house. Ken learned what bus the foster family's biological daughter rode and where she went to school. He made the foster parents a proposition, girl for girl. Worried he was planning on kidnapping their daughter, more charges were filed on Ken, but Ken didn't give a shit, and Ken still wasn't put in jail. On July 27th, 1976, Ken shot a local farmer twice because the farmer confronted him for shooting guns on his property. Ken was charged for assault with intent to kill, but they wouldn't set a court date, so Ken was roaming free. The farmer said Ken parked outside his house at least 100 times while waiting for that court date. Once they finally went to trial, Ken produced 2 of his hunting buddies who said Ken was with them that day, and they were nowhere near the family's property. So Ken walks away once again. And I know you're wondering why the cops didn't do anything when basically the entire town is accusing him of all of these things.
One townsperson said, our law enforcement never went after him very hard. The son of a bitch would just as soon shoot them as anyone else.
Yeah, so they were like, he was constantly pulling guns on the police. I don't know if he ever actually shot at them, but he made it very clear that he didn't give a shit that they wore a badge.
Well, I just don't understand, why is he out roaming around?
The whole, everybody's scared of him.
This whole damn time. I mean, why? Put him in jail.
Yeah, they don't want to deal with him either.
They can put him somewhere where they ain't got to worry about him. Hell, put him in solitary confinement.
Very true. Yeah, they were definitely afraid of him. In 1980, one of he and Trina's kids got into an argument with a cashier at a grocery store. The kid was allegedly trying to steal candy. And what did Ken do? He started stalking the family that owned the grocery store. For around 10 weeks, he called all the time, making threats, shooting guns over their house, and Trina even tried to fight the grocer's wife. The wife reported all of this to the cops, who told her to just keep an eye on Ken. Told her to keep an eye on him. Basically, they were saying that they're not going to do anything, so just watch your own back. One day, Ken came into the back of the store with a gun and threatened 70-year-old Ernest Bo Bowenkamp, and this was the owner of the store. There was a scuffle, and Bo was shot in the neck and torso. He lived, so Ken was arrested and charged with attempted murder. This time, he was actually convicted. But, hold on to your hats, he was set free on bail pending his appeal. Like, is that a thing, to be able to be bailed out post-conviction?
Or was it just part of the plan all along?
Right. Speculation is that was part of the plan.
Yeah, but I mean, good Lord.
He immediately went to the local bar with an M1 Garand rifle that had a bayonet attached and was going on and on about what he was going to do to Bo. The appeal hearing kept getting delayed, so Ken is just out there in the world being a menace. On July 10th of 1981, the town had a town hall meeting at the Legion Hall, which is in the middle of town. The county sheriff was there, and they were discussing what to do about Ken. The sheriff told them not to go face to face with Ken and to maybe start a neighborhood watch. And then the sheriff left town. Word made it to this meeting that Ken was currently drinking at the bar, his favorite place. The meeting members filed into the bar and just hung out. Ken finished his day drinking and bought him a six-pack from the bar and went out to get into his truck. Sitting in his truck, he became surrounded by the townfolk. Some report that there were 35 people, and some say it was more like 45 people, all surrounding his truck. Several shots were fired into the truck. Ken was hit twice, once by a center fire rifle and once by a .22 rifle, so most believed there was more than one shooter. Also in the truck was Trina. She was able to escape without being shot. She did claim to identify a gunman, but the other witnesses didn't see anything. Nobody called an ambulance. The DA didn't press any charges. The feds investigated and they didn't press any charges. So Ken died and the case went cold.
The cops wouldn't protect them, so they did it themselves.
Yep. The whole town.
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, it's just, that dude was out of control.
Yes. For his whole life.
Good night.
I didn't even get into like all the stuff that he did. I just told you there were 21 indictments. I didn't tell you what all it was for.
Yeah, and how old was he?
He was 47.
47 years
When he died.
of just being a dick, and he lived that long.
Yeah.
Yeah, surprised it lasted that long then.
I know, me too. Especially back then. Yeah, he was 47.
Yeah, in the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the 80s, you know, you know.
I wouldn't call it the Wild West out there, but it was a little more lax.
But that was more of a, yeah, like you said in the beginning, fuck around and find out era.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly.
Yeah. And on July 9th of 1984, Trina filed a $5 million wrongful death suit against the town, the county, the sheriff, the mayor, and the person that she said is the person who actually shot Ken. But they settled that case out of court for $17,600 because the county said it was cheaper than having a trial. So they gave her money and sent her on her way.
And this was the raped girl that he married.
Yes.
So that was like she ended up loving him.
Yeah. She supposedly always did. Like, she always said that they were in a relationship, but she ran away from him.
Yeah, a couple times.
Well, we know for sure when she was 14 because he went back and burned the house down again.
That's crazy.
I know. So, yeah, fuck around, find out. That's what happened.
Yeah, definitely.
So when I was looking into that one, I saw this documentary about a town in Australia.
Oh, okay. So that was the end of that one.
Yes, that's how it ends because nothing was ever done.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
You know, be a dick.
Get fucked up.
Yeah, be a dick your whole life, and, you know, somebody's going to get tired of it.
Or an entire town is going to get tired of it.
Or your entire town's going to freaking surround and, you know, start circling the wagons.
You got to think, too, there was 440 people in this town, and 45 of them surrounded the truck. So 10% of the population really, really had a hand in you going down.
Oof.
That's a lot of hatred.
Yeah.
I don't blame them. But so now we're going to talk about I'm going to say Larrimah because, listen, this is in Australia and I don't have an Australian accent. So for me to come out and say this word, plus I'm congested. And so if you hear me breathing, I apologize for that, but I'm trying hard to not suffocate. But I think it's called Larrimah, Australia. And I came across a case of Paddy Moriarty. It's not near to the same extreme as Ken's story, but it is similar. Because here we have a town of reportedly 11 people, but including Paddy, there was actually 12 on the list. So I think they're saying that there's 11 now or after this happened. There's no cell coverage there. There's no police. And they had things that visitors would come and look at, like the hotel/pub that had over 700 birds and animals, including pet crocodiles. And Paddy had a usual routine, and he worked at this hotel. He cleaned toilets, did laundry, made up rooms, and tended to the garden in the mornings. But after lunch, he drank at the bar and welcomed visitors. His dog, Kelley, always had her leash tied to the leg of his chair. And let me tell you about the people living there. Billy was the first one to have a TV in town. He used to be married to Fran, who owned a business making meat pies. And they had rolled into town 50 years ago and saw the old police station was for sale, so they moved in. But they broke up, and neither one would move out of the house. So one day, Fran put all of his stuff outside and changed the locks. Billy just moved into a camper a little ways up the road. And when I say a little way up the road, I mean there's like no houses in between them, so they could still see each other. And he said he did that just to piss her off. You have Carl and Bobby, who are the first responders in the town. They have the only fire truck and would respond to accidents and things like that should something arise. Barry Sharp owned the hotel and pub, which was also the grocery store and post office. It was open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Lenny was the old man of the group. Richard, the bartender. Barry Burke, who everyone calls Cookie. Dave, who collects beer cans, and was not even mentioned in the documentary until the Major Crime Squad came into play. There was the latest couple to move to the town, Karen and Mark, and that makes 12, if you include Paddy. Also, Fran had a gardener who recently came to stay with her named Owen. Most of the people in the documentary didn't even know who he was because he wasn't an actual resident. So they knew of him, but they didn't really know him.
Paddy was 70 years old and was from Ireland originally. Some say that his laugh brightened your day.
They did. But, as it usually goes, as the story unfolded, you learn that most people did not like him.
Yeah, but, I mean, you know, we sitting there watching that documentary and everything, and it was like none of the town liked anybody in the town.
Nobody liked anybody.
Like everybody hated everybody.
Every single person hated every other single person.
Yeah, I mean, one guy went on to say, oh, we're like a big family, but we hate each other.
Kind of like a family. No, I'm just kidding.
Like, yeah.
But that's pretty true. I mean, all these people lived here for so long, and it's so small, and you can see everybody, and you see everybody every day. You know their stories. They tell them a million times at the bar, and you just want to tell them to shut up. You get to the point where it's like, enough. I'm tired of your face. And that's kind of where they were when they did this documentary, I feel. It's inevitable, though. We will break down the day he went missing and then fill in the rest. On Saturday, December 16th of 2017, Paddy followed his daily routine. At around 9 a.m., he rode his four-wheeler to the hotel with Kelley on the back. He did his work, and then he went to the pub in the hotel. This is December in Australia, so it is the opposite weather than what we see here in the States. It was very warm there, so there are pictures of him from that day sitting in his usual chair and wearing shorts. At 2:29 p.m., he withdrew $40 from his account, which is also routine. He spent all of that on beer that he drank while sitting there. A family traveling had come into town and brought with them a barbecue chicken for lunch. They had all that they could of it and then went to the pub to have a drink and look at the animals. Their daughter patted Kelley, and they took pictures of the front of the hotel, and that's where you can see the pictures of Paddy that day. He's sitting there at the door in his usual chair. When they were leaving, they gave Paddy the rest of the chicken to give to Kelley for dinner. Paddy told Barry that he wouldn't be at work the next day, but he would come by and borrow the lawnmower so he could mow at his house. And they said as the light outside was dimming, Paddy and Kelley rode the four-wheeler home. At about 10:30 that night, it rained, but it had cleared out by morning. No one saw Paddy on Sunday. Then Monday, when he didn't show up at the hotel for work, Barry went to his house at around 10 to 11 a.m. There was no Paddy or Kelley. No one locked their doors around there, so he was able to go inside, and he could see that they weren't inside either. There was nothing out of place, showing any signs of a struggle or anything like that. Now, the back gate was open, so he figured that Paddy had taken Kelley for a walk out by the dump, which was also a daily routine for him. Barry went to the dump but found nothing, so he went on about his business. Now, keep in mind that Barry and Paddy were the closest thing to best friends this town had. People have called this into question.
But Tuesday morning, rumors had spread that Paddy was missing.
Yeah, so small town. Everybody's going to find out.
Yeah, I mean, would it take like 10 minutes?
Well, once somebody actually was like, oh, hey, he's missing. But Barry he didn't say anything about it. You hadn't seen your best friend in 2 days when you see him every day and it's not weird. And he had plans to come borrow your lawnmower that Sunday.
True.
So some of the other townsfolk went to Paddy's house. His bed was still made. Again, nothing was out of place except that all of his stuff was there, including his hat. He was bald and self-conscious about that, so he always wore his hat if he left the house. Also, his back gate was still open, which means he didn't leave town because they said he always closed his gate because of feral donkeys in the area. Which I was like, what's a feral donkey?
Yeah, I have no freaking clue. I was like, the only thing I can guess is like it's like a wild Mustang horse, but
in donkey form?
A jackass it's wild and just mean.
Our Australian listeners are going to have to let us know if you just have wild donkeys running around in Australia, because here they're all domestic and not really domesticated, but they're used for work. They're kept as pets. They're very docile.
I mean, here donkeys, asses or whatever you want to call them, they're used to actually keep coyotes away from livestock.
Right.
Which would make sense because, I mean, if a donkey can keep a pack of coyotes away from livestock,
right,
that makes sense, a feral donkey.
Okay, because they have dingoes over there, which are like a dog breed or something like that, which is like a coyote.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what they do. They just go around there and keeping the place safe.
Maybe. I don't know.
Policing that.
Yeah, that's
wilderness.
That's their police.
You're going to have to let us know. We need to know. Now, they looked for him for 3 hours because he had a triple bypass not too long ago. So they worried that he had went out walking Kelley and had a medical emergency. Not finding anything, they went to the hotel and told Barry to call the police. And he made that call at 4 p.m. Lots of teams came in to search. And they even brought in a helicopter and found nothing. They know he made it home because his four-wheeler was there. His keys were there. His hat that he had been wearing. The barbecue chicken that couple gave him was in the microwave. And there was dinner on the table like he was getting ready to eat. Detectives found out in their investigation a lot of stuff. Most they probably didn't care to know. And everyone was pointing the finger at everyone else. Reporters were covering it as well. And a local ABC news station had done some interviews a little while back. So they watched those, and Paddy was on there. When he was asked how everyone gets on in the town, he immediately said, they don't. No. Everyone knew that Paddy told far-fetched stories, so you never knew what to believe. But it was clear that a lot of people were fed up with him. Many said that Richard, the bartender, had something to do with the disappearance because he was jealous of Paddy getting more hours at work than him. Richard had been fired for drinking too much and too often. Also, it is said that he and Paddy got into an argument the night before Paddy went missing. Some think that the hotel pub owner Barry had something to do with it, and no bodies could be found because he fed them to the crocodile. First responders, Carl and Bobby, were basically running the town, doing all the things that, needed to be done to keep a town going. But Barry wanted to be a kingpin, and Paddy took his boss's side. They say Paddy stalked the family, made their lives hell, and set fires. Their daughter at one time had a business that she was running there, and they believed that Paddy burned it down. It happened on a day that the first responder couple was out of town in the only fire truck. But others believe that the family did it for insurance money.
Then there's Fran.
Fran
had said that when Paddy moved into town in 2005, she had a big trouble.
Yeah. She was his least favorite person in the town, and vice versa.
And she's the one that sold meat pies, right?
Yes. Now, in his interview with the news station, he called her a see you next Tuesday.
See you next.
Yeah, a cunt. He called her an old goose and a bunch of other colorful things. She did say, what?
See you next Tuesday.
Did you like that?
That was pretty good.
Nice.
That's what I'm going to start saying instead of saying the word itself.
Yeah, see, people don't even realize you called him that until it's too late. Sneak it in. She did say that when he had his heart surgery, she would bring him food, being a nice neighbor. Paddy said in his interview that he ate one of her meat pies and he spit it out, and that Kelley the dog wouldn't even eat it. But Fran said she never brought him one and never sold him one, so she doesn't know why he would say that. And then they did start selling meat pies at the pub, and Paddy would advertise them at his house, like signs in his yard. And I need to mention that Paddy lived right across the street from Fran. So you've got this guy telling you the best meat pies are down the road, not here, go down there. So you can see There was some tension. Someone in town actually put a handwritten sign on one of the existing World War II signs in the town after Paddy disappeared, saying Fran's Sweeney Todd pies. Yeah. They even joked about the Sweeney Todd reference on some of the news reports.
Really?
Yes, the news reporters were laughing and cracking jokes. Whoa.
Well, I mean...
And then like, this is very serious. Someone's missing.
I just laughed when you said it.
Well, yeah.
But I mean, I know it, I've seen Sweeney Todd too, so.
Yeah, you get it. Fran would go on to file many complaints against Paddy and even a court case, saying he threw a dead kangaroo at her house more than once. He threw a severed donkey penis up her drive.
Oh my gosh.
I knew it was coming and I still had to laugh when I said it.
What was in them pies? Donkey dicks.
He would kill her plants, sever her security camera wires, all kinds of stuff. Now, Fran and Bobby were friends, but when the cops pressed Bobby, she said that Fran told her more than once that she could kill Paddy or have him killed.
Maybe he was just bringing meat for the meat pies.
Apparently. Like she said she looked out her window one day and he was like literally dragging a dead kangaroo across the road and just flung it. With
donkey dick pies here.
Oh my God.
Come get your donkey dick pies.
Listen, they have to get their meat somewhere, okay? Because, I mean, she advertises camel pies. Who knows what a camel tastes like?
So, I mean, who's to say that she didn't, do some feral donkey dicks?
How am I supposed to edit this?
You're not.
Mm-mm. Per the coroner's inquest, there was a person named Wayne. He said that he and his neighbor Brian went to Catherine to the MVR office and they saw Fran. Brian and Fran allegedly had a conversation that Wayne said, quote, she said that the old man was still giving her a hard time and has taken her to court, costing her a lot of money. She said she needed to get rid of him and she would pay $10,000. She said she had $9,000 cash but could get more. Brian said he had a friend that would do it for $10K. She gave him her phone number. A week later, Wayne hears about Paddy and Kelley, and Brian said he didn't need to do the dog too. Dun dun dun. Now, there were never phone calls on record between Brian and Fran that they could find. Phone data does put all three phones for Wayne, Brian, and Fran in Catherine at the same place, August 29th. Then again, December 1st. Brian passed away of natural causes on April 14th of 2019, so he can't be asked about it. But $7,000 cash was found in Fran's freezer. When detectives asked about it, she said it was her super. So I don't know if they meant supper. So somebody explain that to me too. What is super? I'm not sure what the translation is for that. Most people ask that if she had paid someone to do it, why would the money still be there?
We don't know how much she had in there at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it used to be $17,000 cash in the freezer.
Maybe, and then she paid the $10,000 and
maybe
had him whacked.
Boy, they's making a lot of money off them meat pies.
Business is booming.
Mm-hmm.
One last person of interest, and that is Owen the gardener. He supposedly was hired by Fran through a newspaper ad. He moved in and takes care of her plants and stuff, but wouldn't accept pay for that. So if you accept a job, why would you not accept money for the job that you were given? You know what I mean?
Yeah, but wasn't he living there?
Yeah, but that was part of the thing. Come move in with me, take care of my stuff, and watch my property because this guy across the street keeps throwing donkey dicks at me, and then get paid for your gardening and stuff. But he wouldn't take money, so that was weird to people. A couple of days before Paddy disappeared, Owen allegedly told Paddy to shut the dog up or he would do it for him. And Paddy responded that if he touched Kelley, he would kneecap him. So police searched Owen's car and they found blood. It was taken and gone over by forensics, but nothing was found linking him to Paddy or Kelley's disappearance. So they returned it to him and he immediately sold it. But while investigating, it seems that authorities put hidden microphones in Fran's place. They caught multiple occasions of a male voice saying incriminating things. And there are more details of this in the inquest documents about him using a claw hammer, and they haven't found the hammer. But the audio they played on the documentary kind of sums it up, so that's the one I'll quote. It's a man singing about hitting a man in the nostrils. Then says, I killerated old Paddy with that fucking killerated him. Struck him on the fucking head and killerated him. Basherated him. Doof. Then you hear what sounds like a woman scream. And then the man sings again. I kill you myself. I kill pup dog. I kill pup dog. I kill. Owen was played the separate recordings. And there's several days, several different recordings. And they all say pretty much the same thing, but they give a little more information or a little less each time. So when he heard the first two, he said, that's not me. That's not me you're hearing on the recording. I didn't say that. But as they kept playing all of them, he immediately invoked his right to remain silent.
I bet he did.
Yeah.
But there is nobody, no weapon, no evidence that there was a murder.
Yeah. There's no evidence that a crime was even committed.
Yeah.
So no one has been arrested. Some people of the town have passed away since then. So Billy, Fran's ex-husband, and Patty's friend, along with Barry, the bar owner. A couple of them said they planned to move out of town, but I didn't see anything saying if they have or not. News reports since the documentary say that Fran moved to Melbourne for cancer treatment and her grandson moved in and took over the business, but she has since moved back home. Her grandson said that they have experienced vandalism. Fran gets verbal abuse and threatening phone calls. Trash gets thrown in her yard and people steal stuff from the property. And this is not from the remaining residents in the town, but visitors to the town. And there is a young couple that moved into town and took over the bar. They have a baby, and it is the first baby to live in the town for the past 40 years. And that's where we're at.
Yeah.
That's it. Oh, Patty's never been found. Kelley's never been found. No inkling of where they are or what happened.
Yeah, but I mean, if you go and watch this documentary, I mean, it actually puts in perspective of like how much these people just do not trust in one another.
Literally, if they stood them in the middle of the street, they would all be pointing.
Oh, yeah. It was like, who did it? And I mean, they're pointing at every one of them. I mean, they can point at each other and make a big ass circle.
Yeah, and that's what they pretty much do.
Yeah, I mean, it's just everybody's got a reason. Everybody's got a why they think it was them.
Yep.
I mean.
Yeah, there's a lot to it. I touched on it, but the documentary has a lot of information and you can actually see the people's faces and it's easier for me to put two and two together when I'm staring at people saying it. But also, the coroner's inquest gave information that wasn't in the documentary. The part about her meeting with that guy at the MVR and offering $10,000 to murder, that's not in the documentary. That's in the paperwork, like the coroner's inquest. So things like that, you just get information from everywhere. And it's so interesting that in a town this small, one person can literally vanish and nobody knows a damn thing.
Yeah. I mean, that's just how it is, you know. You just got a town of somebody throwing donkey dicks at the walls and stuff. Anyway. All right, guys. I appreciate you listening to us. Catch us on the next one.
Bye.